What's good, everybody? What is good, everybody's big game? James, man, you know we in these streets, and I got another great interview. We just had a great interview with Mr. Mike Fisher. We know all Cowboys thing, but I got a special guest. I haven't had to him grace my podcast in about 3 or 4 years, but guess what? This is my guy, owner of the Football Game Plan, czar of the playbook, Mr. CBS Sports IQ, Mr. Emory Hunt. Thank you for joining the show today.
Appreciate you, man. Always a pleasure jumping on the show talking ball, man.
Hey, I'm really excited to talk about it today because I love your breakdowns. I got to see you last year. I should have said hi, but I was so busy. But I saw you last year at the Senior Bowl doing your thing, and I just love your grind, and I just really appreciate your football breakdowns, especially when you do the draft of the small school. I really love that because a lot of people don't know that, and I love how you do the draft first round and you talk about all those small school guys because it really kind of opens your eyes to a lot of players that people don't know about, and they could be some sneaky players, maybe on a roster. So I really appreciate you doing those type of things. But let's talk about these Dallas Cowboys in their draft. So first of all, what would you give an overall grade just as a whole for the Dallas Cowboys?
Honestly, and I'm not saying this because I'm on a Cowboy show, I give them an A. And for me, what was impressive about the Cowboys, one of the names that, as I was grading prospects, I thought was a stereotypical, prototypical Dallas Cowboy was Tyler Booker. That was my number one guard in the class. Even when people were saying, oh, he's not athletic, he's not this, but he moves people out the way. At some point, the game is about blocking, tackling, and moving a man against his will. And when you watch Tyler Booker, I don't care what scheme, I don't care if it's zone or gap scheme, the dude moves guys up out the way. Give me
And
those guys 10 times out of 10. And you combine that with getting the steal and Chuvon Ruvel, who was my number one boundary corner, which means I like him playing on the opposing receiver, the X receiver, the number one option on an opposing team. And again, I know the injury is big. Not everybody's Adrian Peterson, right? And I think
right.
Adrian Peterson ruined it for everybody, thinking that he just easily come back from an ACL. Everyone is different. But
right.
man, if he comes back like he was pre-injury, elite level athleticism, tremendous speed and recovery speed, and elite level hands. Give a guy that's a true cornerback. So you think about Trevon Diggs and what he is for the Cowboys. Imagine a guy that's actually, more technical, more explosive, and has just as good of hands as Diggs. You would want that. And Deron Bland was a guy I couldn't think of. The other ball skill guy, I was scrambling to try to find his name, but that's the other guy that they have. So I love the Cowboys did. As Raku was a great pickup as well, a guy that's a situational rusher, gives you someone on the opposite side of Parsons that still has some room to develop. And Jaden Blue, for me, listen, the game is predicated on speed and explosiveness. And you've seen this time and time again. You've seen it with Chris Johnson. You've seen it with someone like Keaton Mitchell with Baltimore. You've seen it with someone like Jahmyr Gibbs. If you have that ability to ring that cash register up from anywhere on the field, that puts so much strain on the defense. You have to really be cognizant of your angles, the path to the football. You have to trust what you see, because if any one of those things are off, guys like Blue, you see in the back of his jersey, you see in the bottom of his cleats, it's a touchdown.
And see, what's crazy though, Emory, is here in Cowboys land, there's some I don't know about that. So when we were here, right, you loved Tyler Booker, and everybody was we need a receiver. This is obviously before you got George Pickens, right? Everybody in Cowboys was like, oh, we need a receiver. We need Tate McMillan. We need to get what's your guy that went to the Packers? I see just slipping my name. Matthew Golden. Those were the guys that were even Azubuike, I think I said it right. From
Buka,
Ohio,
Michael Buka.
Buka from Ohio State. So those were the names, and that's where everybody was screaming. A couple of my guys were like team trenches. No, we need to get Booker. We need to get Booker. We need to get Booker. And wasn't nobody feeling that, dog. Wasn't nobody feeling no Tyler Booker here. We was like, we need a receiver. When they picked Tyler Booker, we had a live show. So many people were mad because they're like, what are we going to do with this receiver? Obviously picking as people calm people down. But you said something true, that he's a road grader, but a lot of people are still worried about that athleticism. Let's say if they're doing any kind of zone concepts and he has to pull or anything like that. Do you perceive that being an issue or a problem?
Not at all, man. I think we tend to put too much emphasis on certain things, and you miss the forest from the trees. At the end of the day, is this dude getting people about the way? I
Mm-hmm.
remember I had going back a few draft classes. Travis Frederick was my number one center, and people had him projected as a third or fourth round pick. He goes in the first round to the Cowboys. People are, this is crazy with a reach. He was stellar for the Cowboys. And I've always said this, no one gives Jerry Jones credit for his ability to draft talent. The Cowboys don't have success. The ultimate success is the Super Bowl, not because of a lack of talent. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that they can't get things going when it counts the most. But the team is talented.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And Jerry Jones understands what works for him, what works for his football team, and he's not shy about going and grab talent. And you lose you didn't lose Hall of Fame wide receiver Michael Irvin. You lost Hall of Fame interior lineman Zach Martin.
Mm-hmm.
So go and get someone to fill that void. Receivers, you're going to find good receivers.
Right.
And a good quarterback like Dak Prescott is going to have success with whoever's out there catching the ball. But he can't have that success with whoever's out there catching the ball if he doesn't have time to find those guys that are out there catching the ball. And when you think about what they've done the last couple of draft classes and reestablishing the point of attack along the offensive line, that's why the Booker pick was always my pick for Dallas, because it was either Booker or it was a running back of Marion Hampton or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
Booker was always in my top two options for Dallas because that just made so much sense. And I don't care if it's zone scheme or whatnot. I'm pretty sure everything Bama ran wasn't gap. So at the end of the day, a guy that is dominant at his position makes the most sense for Dallas and what they're trying to rebuild up front.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm excited because I've been saying they have a new big three in um, Tyler Booker, Tyler Smith, and then Cooper Beebe. When you look at Dak Prescott, he's not mobile like that any longer. And to me, you have to protect those three positions right there where you have to protect that middle to be able to give him enough time to be able to throw that ball because he can step into the throws if you're playing the tackles. Obviously, tackle means huge, right? But if you're not getting that, if you're not holding that point of attack in that middle, it's just a lot of problems. And I notice when Dak is getting that pressure up middle, it tends to throw him off. So you got to build that front right there for him to make him comfortable. And when I first heard about the pick, I wasn't tripping. I'm like, the trenches is what matter. You win in the trenches, and if you can't win in the trenches, you're not gonna win games. And the biggest thing that they've been saying with Dallas Cowboys is they're not physical enough. They get bullied when the big games. So this is where you really got to start, and it always starts in the trenches. With that being said, Araziku. Um, Now, Cowboys have Micah Parsons. We don't know if he's going to be strictly edge. You got Sam Williams coming back off injury. They had Marshawn Nealon, who they picked up, and they also picked up Dante Fowler Jr., the Peyton kid from the Saints. So there's going to be some people out there at the edge. What chance do you really see? Do you really see a rock or as Rockaku? If I say it right, I keep messing that daggone name up. But do you really think he'll come in? Will he be more of like the splash type player, or do you think he'll be in a guy in a regular rotation?
I think you touched on it right there. When you draft a guy like Donovan Ezaraku and you list off the names that you have, Sam Williams, you hopes comes back and plays at 100 because I think he's an excellent player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nealon, we saw during the preseason and then when he was out there healthy, was a solid player. So therefore, getting an Ezaraku to come in and right now while he's sort of one dimensional,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. That's all you need right now. So you need that one dimension of, hey, okay, it's a pass rushing down. We want our NASCAR package in there as a
Mm-hmm.
rock getting there. Just go get the quarterback. And so until he develops more so a well-rounded game, as a rookie, as a one-dimensional player, his one-dimensional is good. It's a pass rusher. Go get the quarterback. Go be disruptive. And that's what you need right now. Because if they didn't have the Nealon or the Williams coming back or Fowler, you'd be expecting him to come in and be Micah Parsons, Micah Parsons to be the Robin to his Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He's not there yet, but he's good enough to get out there and give you a one dimension that can help your defense. So that's why, again, just an understanding roster composition, understanding depth, understanding how to build the team. This is what the Philadelphia Eagles do.
Mm-hmm.
They always draft somebody a year ahead. So you may
Mm-hmm.
see like, why the hell would they draft Nolan Smith? He ain't even playing. And then the next year,
Right.
Nolan Smith is a superstar or a starter or a consistent playmaker. This is what Dallas is doing with these picks within the front seven.
Yeah, and you got to do it. And just like you said, that's why I felt like he'd be more of a splash guy because they got those other guys where you don't have to come in and be the man. You can come in, they can slow cook you, like you said, the third downs, the pass rush, where you can just say, go get the quarterback. And that's why I feel like he can get the 4 or 5 sacks, for a rookie year because you're coming in strictly doing one thing. Get to the quarterback, and that's your specialty. As we've seen 16 and a half sacks last year, tons of tackles for losses. That's what he can really skill. And then you can kind of can build on it during the year. And I like how they built everything up first and then kind of let him slow cook. And I like how they're doing it. Now, I feel like that's what kind of could happen with Rebel, but they have so many damn injuries with Diggs. Butler got hurt. They got so many guys on the men. It's frustrating because Cowboys landed like, go get that veteran because you don't want them to push Rebel early because I don't want them to do that. I want him to be slowly brought along because I'm agreeing with you. I love Trevin Diggs when he came out, but I think Rebel going to be better than him. What you think?
I totally agree. Because Diggs wasn't that technically sound as a corner. He just caught a lot of
Mm-hmm.
picks. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, that's great because you turn the ball over. But as we've seen throughout his career, he's big game hunting. He'll give up a big play, he'll make
Yep.
a big play. But in terms of the down to down technical parts of the position, he was a receiver by trade. So he hasn't really fully made the Richard Sherman shift
Mm-hmm.
as everyone expected it. It's taking him a little bit of time, but he's getting better at it. He's not taking as many chances. He's starting to get less handsier with the receivers. But a guy like Revel to me is going to be, better because he was a corner by trade right out of the gate. And when you combine that with his athleticism and his ability to turn the ball over, what I love the most about Revel's game, there was one play. It was a play that everybody talked about. It was against App State, the pick six, where
Yes.
it was against a crossing route, and those are hard as hell for any DB because his speed going across the field with no real change direction. So you beat by alignment a lot of times. He was able to stay hip to hip with the receiver, show the recovery speed, and then turn the ball over and bring it back the other way. And that's going on a crossing route. So him just going straight downfield vertical, he can run with anybody. And I think that's going to help him out. I agree with you. You don't want to rush him back so quickly. You want to make because the biggest hurdle you have to have as I had my ACL torn twice as a football player. The second time was easier to come back than the first time because the first time it's the mental hurdle. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the doctors are clearing you, but you're like, I don't know, man. Like you said,
Right. Talk
but
about that.
yeah, they're saying no, you good to go, and you're like, nah, I ain't good to go, bro. Like, what if I? It's like, no, you're medically cleared to go, and but the mental side of it, you're still thinking, man, if I make that same cut that I did when I tore it, will that happen again? So now you're not even playing fast. You're not even as aggressive as you were. You're trying to play it safe. You're overcompensating on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
that you did that's healthier until you really start to get the groove in. And then you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm good. And then just, boom. And so that's why they always say the second year after an ACL is the best year. Because you start to mentally feel normal.
Right.
But, for any athlete, it's different. Again, Adrian Peterson was a anomaly, but the mental hurdle as soon as you get over that, everything else will fall into place. Because obviously I'm talking about myself and that we're talking 1996, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying, and then I told
Right.
it in 2000. But now these guys, the medical advancements they've made since then is insane. Even
Mm-hmm.
on top of that, when we talk about guys that have Achilles injuries, that used to be a career ender.
Right.
Now it seems like guys are tearing their Achilles more than ever, and they're coming right back and playing as if they're still as explosive. So obviously I think he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be back 100%, but just the mental hurdle is where he has to get over it first.
Yeah, true, man. I see that the medical advancement because one of my good friends, Kajana Carter,
Mhm.
he played out here in Ohio, And it hurts
96,
my it
94,
hurts
95.
yes, it hurts my soul to this day because that was one of those what could have been. He
Yep.
was such a dog, and when he tore his ACL that first, like the third carry, I was just like, it might be over because that's the way you felt because the way those injuries were back then. Because it took like a couple years, for them maybe to come back. But like you said, especially for a running back, that was a death sentence. You got a tore up knee; it was almost over for you. Like that was a career ender, and it just sucks to see. But shout out to the 2025 advancement for medicals because it's definitely changed the game. Now, and I want to bank off you what you were talking about. That's where I really got excited when I saw Rebel. When I saw him do that crossing route and I saw him break and I seen that speed and catching and run, I'm like, oh my God, Dallas got somebody right there because not everybody can do that. That is not easy. And I don't people understand how
At
hard
his
that
height,
is.
no less.
At
He's
his height.
6'2". Yeah, you usually see the shorter guys able to do
Yes.
that, but not at 6'3".
Yes, and that's crazy. Now I want to go to another player. We talked about Booker, but I want to go to another player that people are like, oh man, we need to go get a running back. We need to go get a Nick Chubb. We need to go get somebody. I ain't sold on no Jaden Blue. A lot of people just ain't really that high on him. I seen that tape and I watched him. Look, he's a guy that I ain't trying to give him 20 carries a game. You come in here, catch the ball at the backfield, maybe some third down, some explosive plays, but we ain't making you be the bell cow guy. Just like you said, it's speed on speed. So for some people out there who are like doubting Jaden Blue, what are some of the really good characteristics that he has besides his speed that can really help the Dallas Cowboys offense?
It's the speed combined with his explosive first step, because that's what really changes things. A lot of guys are fast, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
they can build up speed kind of guys. But a lot of times it takes him a while to get to that top speed. For Blue, he's at his top speed right now, and it's the first step. So it's that level of suddenness that puts you at a bind if you're a defender. So let's just say if we're running outside zone, and as he's at 5 o'clock when he opens up to get the handoff to attack the outside shoulder of the tackle, the linebacker, knowing his speed, I got to beat him to the spot. What does that what does that set up? The cutback. So now
Mm-hmm.
if I see you over aggressive trying to beat me to the spot because you're afraid of my first step in speed, now when I plant and accelerate and replace where you just left, there's no way you can recover. Let's look at it from a situation where he's running downhill. If you're running inside zone, and as a linebacker playing downhill, you want to make sure I'm gonna square up, I'm gonna get a good run fit, and I'm gonna try to fit him up in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
But with Blue, Blue is so his first step explosiveness in combination with the speed is so great, is that he's gonna get up on you so fast to where
Mm-hmm.
now you're either gonna be flat footed as a linebacker, or you're going to try to guess in terms of which side he's going to try to attack. Because if you're playing him straight up, you gave him a two-way go.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're frozen. So all he has to do is just make a subtle move, and then he's off to the races because you're flat-footed and or you're about to guess. So it was a suddenness combined with the speed that makes him dangerous. Then when you combine him being able to catch over his shoulder, being able to catch away from his body, that allows you now to open up the things in the passing game, not just as a meets expectations runner, swing, screens, flares, and flats, but now
Mm-hmm.
as a downfield threat in the passing game. Because if you're a linebacker and you're playing zone and I have to carry this wheel route or this seam route, you're not carrying a seam or a wheel with a guy that runs that fast and is that explosive. So now that pulls a safety trying to get help, right? Which then opens up one of these other options at receiver. So him being out there creates a matchup problem for a defense trying to cover, but also for him individually because you don't have someone that's that fast and that fluid at linebacker. You're going to have to sacrifice a safety. But if you sacrifice the safety, now you got a one-on-one chance with the receiver somewhere on the field. So Blue opens things up offensively because of his speed, because of his explosiveness, and that's how speed can be utilized as an advantage for like for any team. That's what makes the Miami Dolphins so doggone dangerous because you have
Mm-hmm.
Jaden lose speed at Tyreek Hill, at Waddle, at the tailback
Devon Chain.
Devon Achan. They take him out, they put the other back in from Tennessee, Jalen Wright. So it's like, geez, we don't have enough pass people. And so you may got one dude on the defense, but they got four dudes at skill positions. That's where you create the problem.
And that was an excellent, perfect breakdown. Like you said, the threat. And now you got a Pickens now with a CD Lamb, and then you bring a Blue in. Now the offense becomes more explosive. Now your tight ends or some guys like that of the underneath, like you said, the safety is committing because you're worried about that speed. Now underneath routes can be seen and things can happen. So just that threat of that speed is what I love. Now there's a couple other players. One of them I did a video and I used your first part of it because you had me so excited when you were talking about him. But I want to talk about a couple other players that maybe some people don't know about and maybe tell us, what do you think they have a chance with the Cowboys? First, it's Jamar James, the linebacker from Florida, and then Cornelius, the offensive tackle from Oregon. Do you think they have a chance with the Cowboys or any kind of role, at least maybe the rookie year?
I think James is going to be a core special teamer. James kind of reminds me of what they were building for a while with the kid out of North Dakota State that transferred to LSU, the linebacker. Um, he
Hmm.
wore number 18, I believe.
Yes,
Uh,
Cox, Jabril Cox.
Jabril Cox. He's kind of that mold, right? Where he's an athletic guy, gives you some speed, but right now I think his role is going to be core special teamer and coverage units. And he's going to thrive there. And in situationally, you work him in the defense and whatnot, sub package guy.
Mm-hmm.
But Cornelius was someone that I really like. For me, I had a 76 grade on him, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's like a high second round grade. And so for me, good knee bend, good ability to stay engaged while with the defender. So once he latches on, he's going to stick with you. Some people may see him as a guard. I have him as a tackle, but it's the ability that he has played tackle. I do love Oregon offensive linemen because they tend to do a lot of different things really well. You talk about someone that's scheme diverse. That's him. Um, doesn't have quite the footwork to get out and about on pulling plays or screens or whatnot, get him on a perimeter in the run game. But once he's engaged with the defender, he's latching on. And the core strength to sustain the block. Most guys can make great contact, but can you sustain that block? And Cornelius can do just that. So, but again, this is how you build an offensive line. This is how you get guys that can do a lot of good things. They have solid depth along the offensive line, especially at tackle. I would expect them to probably cross train someone like Cornelius to kind of
Mm-hmm.
play inside and outside, maybe that swing offensive lineman.
Yeah, and they already have TJ Bass from Oregon. They had him a couple years ago. So obviously they must like something from the Oregon offensive line because you got two guys on there. So they must be doing something right, just like you said. Now here's a guy that I'm excited about. I won't get too excited about because he is a rookie. We understand the defensive tackle position. But daggone it, I love tokens and I love Samoans. I just feel like they play a different game, especially on defense. I just feel like, and they have long careers. I just feel like, man, when you get one of those guys, you got something good. And when I seen Jay Teoa, I got super excited because that's what the Cowboys need. They need a true run stuffer. That's what Dallas Cowboys been lacking for so long. We have undersized guys. Guys can attack the quarterback, but the run game has just been one of the Achilles heel for the Cowboys. Now, obviously, he's a rookie. He went in the seventh round. You don't expect, hey, he's going to come in, be a starter doing all that. Yeah, we got the first team reps and OTAs. But what's a reasonable expectation for Jay this year? And what do you think he can have something that can help the Cowboys? Because trust me, everybody in Cowboys land is excited about him.
They probably saw the clip I had.
They did because I posted it.
A3, because he was one of the guys that I was like, wow, this dude lasted this far, but he's a fantastic. He was my number 4 nose tackle. Just insane power off the snap. And what power off the snap does when you're able to get quickly off the ball, combined with power, you're resetting the line of scrimmage. So you're already walking a dude back, and now that bubbles things up. From a running back perspective, you hate seeing that because now you already have a path in mind of, okay, how I'm gonna hit this, and you don't expect, the line to get pushed back or a lineman to get pushed back because now you got to change your path. You got to either widen out or bubble out, which then allows linebackers to scrape and then maybe shoot a gap and then make a play. So
Mm-hmm.
for him consistently, then when you watch UCLA's defensive front seven, I always tell people go watch their game against Iowa and how they just manhandled that run game. Like, and you watch Toya just blow stuff up like consistently. Yeah, he doesn't have a savvy, you know, bag in terms of pass rushing. He got kind of shorter arms. But when his hands are inside and he's off the ball like he is, he's already either creating double team or he's bull rushing in the backfield. So that alone, um, combined with his ability to find the football, because some guys just make contact and just fly up the field and miss the play,
Mm-hmm.
or they just break through the line of scrimmage and just don't see the trap coming and get themselves whammed out the way. But for him, he's able to really get off the ball, reset the line of scrimmage, then find the football and then go to the ball. So he's tracking the ball well. He's finding the football. He's disruptive, and that means something. That matters, especially when you think about Dallas's defense and how they got attacked. Teams are just running right down Main Street,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can't at least force teams to go outside, then you're going to have a problem. So for me, I like the fact that this guy is going to give you what you wanted to get out of Mozzie Smith. And I think that's a situation where either Smith is going to continue to elevate his game, or Toya, as we've seen, albeit in OTA, he's going to find a way on the field at some juncture of the season. So whether it's going to be on, this is a clear, obvious rundown, and he dominates there, or he's able to create a double team to where he frees up, one-on-one opportunities for either an adjacent defensive tackle or an edge guy, then he's going to be out there longer as a starter as opposed to a sub package guy.
And I hope he puts all that pressure on Mozzie, because Mozzie you need that pressure. Mozzie Smith, you need all that pressure, because I don't want him slacking at no time. So I hope Jay puts all that pressure on him. Now, there's another running back that the Cowboys drafted as well, Phil Maffa. A lot of people will. Before I talk about Phil, why do you think Jay dropped so to the seventh round? Because I seen so many draft people had him like a fifth and things of that nature. Why do you think he dropped to the seventh?
This is the nature of the draft, man. I mean, you only have. This is why I've been always, and people kind of clown me for it, but they don't understand the position I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I've always been a big proponent of expansion of the NFL. The NFL acquired as kept can easily expand to, you know, 40 teams if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And the UFL can easily expand to 20 teams if they wanted to. And we've seen since COVID, we've seen the amount of prospects that have come out that have gone undrafted,
Mm-hmm.
really good football players, because that's how many talented football players there are in this country. And we've seen now the NFL is a day 3 league. I mean, there's more day 2, day 3 undrafted. I know that the number is bigger, but there are more undrafted free agents than there are drafted free agents or drafted players in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
So people, it's a bell curve. We talk about this part of the curve, which are the superstars, right?
Mm-hmm.
The league is here, right in the middle. And then we always talk about the guys that flamed out that didn't do well, but the league is really thriving right here. Hell, look, Dallas has a 4th round pick as their franchise quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no rhyme or reason why a guy falls. It could be positional value. It could be, well, we want to get the top talent of other positions first, and we can get these positions later. So there's no really rhyme or reason, but this is showing you that there's a ton of talent out there, to where guys may go late or even undrafted.
Yeah, and that's really big that you talk about that, because I mean, there's less than 300 people in that draft getting drafted in that 1 year. There's a lot of good football players, and let's be honest, all these scouts aren't right. All the scouts aren't right. A lot of people are wrong on their evaluations, and you could have a guy in the 1st round, guy win the 7th round. That 7th rounder is better than that 1st rounder. So it's just kind of how it falls. So I totally agree with you with that. But let's talk about Phil Maffa. Obviously, we talked about Jaden Blue. And Javonte Williams is a guy I really like with the Cowboys. They've been saying, oh, we need to upgrade, go out there. But I want to give Javonte a chance, because he says he's 3 years removed from his injury. He looked great his rookie year, and he's the type of back that I think the Cowboys need as a starter, and he's young. But let's talk about Phil Maffa, because he went to the 7th round, but I seen some good things from Phil Maffa. talk about his game and what do you think he can contribute? Do you think he'll be a core special teams player? Do you think he'll get in some short down situations? Will he make the team? What are your thoughts about Phil Maffa?
It's an interesting position to be in because he was kind of banged up during the process, so he really couldn't participate in the East West Shrine Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's more of what if you're talking about tandems, right? Because I also feel like Deuce Vaughn needs to get more carries. Uh,
Mm.
every time he's touching the ball, somebody's looking foolish, you know, grabbing that air, and he's gaining positive yards, right? The answer may already be in the backfield that they're
Mm-hmm.
just not using. Um, but if you're looking at Vaughn, Blue under the same lens, then you have to look at guys like Williams, Maffa, under this side in terms of pace setters, like guys that can start the game, kind of tenderize the defense. Then you bring in your Deuce Vaughn, you bring in your Blue to really hit the home run.
Mm-hmm.
And or you can look at guys like Maffa and Williams as your closers. Okay, we kind of ran roughshod of the opposing defense. Now we got to close out a game. This is somebody that gets stronger with every carry that teams don't really want to tackle,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you really churn out wins and churn out games. So you can have it either way. I think his role will obviously have to be on special teams. If he plays special teams, he's gonna have to either learn how to do play coverage units. If not, he's gonna have to probably a red shirt year where he's gonna get cut, but hopefully passes through waivers and then put on a practice squad and be one of those call ups that we tend to see in week 7 that has
Mm-hmm.
to come in because of war of attrition. But Maffa is someone, if he's healthy, he can be that pace setter. He can be that guy that can be that 4-minute offense guy, that short yardage goal line situation type guy. And I think the real battle is, you have two separate battles at the backfield. You have the thunder side and the lightning side. So he's more along the lines of that thunder side.
Now, interesting you mentioned Deuce Vaughn because a lot of people saying Deuce Vaughn ain't even gonna make the roster. They said it was just an experiment. You shouldn't have drafted him, and things of that nature. Now, I will be one of the first people to say, why'd you draft him? He's small, and it's not because he's not a good running back, but it always seems to happen that the Cowboys don't know how to put those type of players in roles with their offense, so they end up just being pushed to the side. So now you got the new coach, you got the new offensive lineman, you got everybody's new in the building. You actually think Deuce Vaughn will have a role with the Cowboys, and you think he should get more carries for the Cowboys?
Yes, it's not like Deuce Vaughn played in, you know, uh, I was about to date myself, about to say in the whack, what I'm saying? In these, in the spread out, Hawaii offense where you got everybody spread out and it's easy for these smaller backs to have success. This man played at Kansas State. Kansas State runs the heck out of the football. Kansas State runs a pro style run game.
So I do.
And that's why he looked like Darren Sproles, when he was running the rock and then his best game was against Alabama, whom everybody, loves to say the SEC this,
Right.
SEC that. Deuce Vaughn was cooking them. And every time you see Deuce Vaughn get carries, whether it's the preseason and he gets consistent carries where he's not looking over his shoulder, he's able to get into that running back groove. He's making dudes miss. He's reading it well. He's finding positive yards. Those are the type of guys that you kind of want on the football field. You know what? Let him go and let Sean McVay get him. Let
You're
Sean
right.
get him.
You're right.
Let someone that knows how to use backs like that with that level of elusiveness, because that's his thing. He's not the fastest, but he's gonna make that first dude miss
He
all the
is.
time. You know what I'm saying? And that's in and of itself is a skill.
You're gonna make me do a video on Deuce Vaughn because I was not counting on him, but you're not lying. Because see, here's the thing: I'm just like, man, what they gonna really do? But when they ran him last year, when they consistently ran him, it was like, okay, I like that. I really like that. Like, give him some more carries, and then it's just like you kind of, I guess, you just count him out because of his stature, and then you're just thinking, well, they got these other backs, they ain't gonna ever give him a chance. But now I'm gonna go back and look at some more Deuce Vaughn tape because you're not lying what you're saying about the elusiveness. And if you got a speed back like a Jaden Blue, and then you sprinkle in a Deuce Vaughn, and then you can run them other backs. Oh yeah, you're gonna have a nasty little offense. So I'm totally feeling you on that.
I
Now,
will say this too, because this is something that used to it was super frustrating because coaches are ego driven. Offensive coaches are ego driven. Um, I remember the Saints drafted Reggie Bush second overall, And all Sean Payton do was give carries to, Pierre Thomas, give carries to everybody else, but this dude that you saw do crazy things at USC. And then when he gets to Miami, and they use him instantly, 1,000 yards, 1,000 yards. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you had Deuce McAllister there at first, and it was a great one-two punch. But you was using Reggie Bush in terms of Reggie Bush in the game. Oh, everybody, Reggie Bush about to get the ball because it was the same type of formation, same
Right.
orbit motion. So you kind of see teams do that with like Deuce Vaughn. You see the Cowboys who do that. It's like, okay, he's about to get the football. And it's clearly obvious we're about to give him the football situation. But if you use him like he was used at Kansas State, you talk about somebody that and elusiveness is so fascinating because it's such an instinctual position. And for someone like Deuce Vaughn, like it was a Barry Sanders approach where you can't even go and replicate what just happened, what you just saw him do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, man, how did you know to move like that? Like, man, it's just
Yes.
instinctual, and it made high level athletic defenders talk about Deuce Vaughn just grabbing that air or grabbing each other. Like it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
give that guy a little bit more carries.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and toot that horn a little bit for you dudes. Go ahead, let's get you some carries, man. Now let's talk about the undrafted. Obviously, undrafted. A lot of people, a lot of players, just like you mentioned, a lot of good undrafted players that are making these rosters and making waves on these rosters. Kind of give me your thoughts about the Cowboys undrafted and maybe who out there can be sneaky because I know they got Childress out there. I haven't got to watch a lot of tape on him, but a lot of people spoke very highly of him and he's healthy. So do you think with him being undrafted, you see the injuries on the at the cornerback position, do you think he can sneak in and get some good reps?
I think the Cowboys kind of nailed it as an undrafted free agent market because you talk about Zion Childress. So I'm looking down at my notes. He was my number 7 combo safety. So I had a 77 grade on him. So, high second round grade. Mike Smith out of Eastern Kentucky. Big physical guy, can come downhill, thump, can cover bigger wide receivers and tight ends. Had a really good all-star game circuit. And Eastern Kentucky has put together some really good defenders in the last 4 years of draft classes. Some guys have gone to play in the CFL or UFL, but Eastern Kentucky is defensively has been solid. And Elijah Clark out of Syracuse was my number 13 combo safety.
Mhm.
Smith was my number 5 free safety. So they got 3 safeties that can either play corner or safety, free or strong, and that shows you where their mindset is. Because
Yeah.
that's why when I look at draft grades, always include the undrafted guys because that's also an extension of the draft strategy. Maybe we didn't draft a safety. Why? Because we have our eye on these guys and these calls starting in the 4th round. It's like, hey, if we're gonna take you, we're gonna take you, we're gonna take you, or we're not gonna take you, we're gonna sign you, we're gonna sign you, you got a shot. And these guys are also a part of the class. So I think all 3 of those safeties have a legitimate shot. I would also like to mention Rivaldo Fairweather was my number 6 H back. Guy
Mhm.
kind of put on a move out of Auburn, and my number 6 H back was Tyler Neville out of Virginia. So to double down on H backs kind of gives you an idea of what they're thinking about the position. And I would also say Trayshawn Holden and Josh Kelly are other good players, good receivers. Gives you some big body guys, some guys that go out there and play, and see how it goes if they have a chance to work themselves on a depth chart. But the 2 H backs and the 3 safeties, I think those are where the Cowboys really was able to mine some gold out there as undrafted rookie free agents.
They get some good ones. One of my guys, actually, he played for me for a little league in youth football. Julius Wood, we picked him up last year. He went to East Carolina. We were all hurt because I was mad as hell when they let him go because he was turning up in the preseason. I just knew he was going to make the team, so that just hurt my soul. But he got on with the Titans doing his thing. So Cowboys year in and year out usually have good undrafted classes, and they usually come in and make some waves. Like if you're an undrafted player, you have a chance to play with the Cowboys. That's a fact because they actually get roles. Now, we're getting ready to close here, but I want to ask you a few more questions, kind of about the free agency. What do you think? How do you think Dallas was in free agency? Obviously, they didn't get the who's who of players, but they got a Solomon Thomas. They got some guys like that. Dante Fowler was a guy who I was very excited they brought back. So, what do you kind of think with the free agency? Do you think that free agency class is going to kind of help these guys along as well because they picked up 3 offensive linemen?
I think it's all about depth, man. And
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about, a football team maybe in week 9, and it's like, man, this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt, and you have guys that have started a lot of games in the league that are now in reserve roles. So that helps strengthen your depth. So now you don't have to rely or push these starters to the max. You can kind of rotate guys in and give that starter kind of a breather or two and kind of prolong your starters being out there, because it's usually the healthier team in the playoffs that the one that gives you a great chance to get to the end, to the
Mm-hmm.
finish. It is a war of attrition, and getting guys that start a lot of games, that have some talent, that can also kind of fit in and doesn't need volume or even need to be a starter, can come in and serve a role. I thought they did a good job. Obviously, the big haul is getting George Pickens, because
Mm-hmm.
now we look at CD Lamb. Don't forget about Cavante Turpin, and how impactful he could be offensively with the ball in his hands. But now you have two number ones, with Lamb being the more versatile that you could move around the formation. Like, Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. I know some people, balk at that, but Dak has played great ball for the Cowboys. He's the reason why that team is never really terrible, in terms of from the quarterback position. And so just adding more depth in the run game, offensive line is going to work itself out. That's just about time on task. I think the Cowboys, once again, uh, even though it didn't work out last year, this is a double-digit win team. They'll be in the postseason, and we'll see if they're healthy enough now with adding better depth, behind their frontline starters, and if they can get to the end.
Yeah, man. And just what you were saying, the Cowboys, as much as we as Cowboys fans get frustrated, the thing that I think we kind of miss sight is year in and year out, Cowboys can compete. And that's why they are good in the draft. We get frustrated because they don't want to go out in free agency and get that. But if you look at how they draft year in and year out, they're a talented team. So even when they were 7-10 last year, it wasn't because they were less talented. It was injury front, and we knew it was the lame duck season. But year in and year out, they have the level to compete, and that's why they're going to be right back in it because of the talent they have on the team. So as we kind of end this, I want to get your thoughts on Schottenheimer because a lot of people bashed him. We love him over here in Dallas. I love him personally. I obviously we know it's a new coach, new car. Everybody loves everything. Everything is beautiful and lovely. We understand all that. But what's your outlook on the coach, staff, and the season? Because you know the Eagles are the returner, Super Bowl champions. We saw what the Commanders did getting into the championship game, and they loaded back up too. And Jaden Daniels is a problem. What are your thoughts on that Cowboys outlook this season, and what do you kind of think? Playoff team, yes. Do you think they can come back and take over the division? What's your kind of thoughts with that?
It'll be tough in the division, because you look at the Philadelphia Eagles and how deep they are on both sides of the ball. They can compete with Washington for number 2, I believe, in the division. I do see them as a playoff team. In terms of the coaching staff, I just want to see the coaches play the best players, and that to me is the sign of a great coach.
Mm,
And also putting your team in the best position to win. Like, don't be the reason why you lose the game. Like, how many times we've seen coaches with questionable situational decisions. Like, because you're emotional, you throw a challenge flag. Like, yo, that was in the first quarter. That's not a big play. Or it's late in the game and it's an obvious, you know, play that's not going to be overturned or go your way, and you threw the challenge flag anyway. Now you don't have a timeout. Or you're getting kind of caught up in, I want to call this play, that you lose sight of the play clock. And so just handle the situation well, put the best players out there on the field, and put those best players in positions to be successful. If you do that, you're going to have a great season. And we'll see if Schottenheimer has learned a little bit. This is his first time as a head coach. We'll see if he's able to shake the stigma that he had as an OC.
yeah, and that stigma carried with him when he got the coach. But you know, I think that's what we're all waiting to see. What's this offense really going to look like? They said they want us to be physical, but is it going to be? They said multiple, but is it going to be diverse? Because we've always talked about the Cowboys having talented players, and they'll score points, but the offense just be looking boring. That's just to me. The offense just don't be looking explosive. They make plays because of the talent, but you don't see the schemes like you see these other teams where you're just like, oh my God, that was a nasty play. like they're really dialing it up. You don't hear that with Cowboys land. You're just like, man, this is like the most boringest offense. It's like everybody comes, the defense knows it. It's just like an obvious thing. I want to see some diversity, and I hope that's what Shotty and them finally bring. I like the Clayton Adams addition. I think he's really going to help that offensive line. So we'll kind of see what goes on with that. So with that being said, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. We almost hitting the hour. Thank you taking your time out. Great breakdowns. Like I said, you really intrigued me with the Deuce Vaughn thing because I had written him off. I ain't gonna lie, I had written him off. But when you talked about what you said, man, he does have a role. And if they really can tap into that role, it can really help the offense. Just like you said, don't just bring them in when it's obvious. Keep them in because then they don't know, and then you can do some other things. But when you bring them in, third down, here come Deuce Vaughn. Everybody knows, everybody named Mama Deuce Vaughn getting the ball. And they're going to stop and you're going to get a 4-yard loss, and everybody's like, what the hell is going on with this team? So definitely feel that. So appreciate you. Keep up that excellent work. I love following you. I love how you just do small schools. You do the HBCs, you do everything. And I just really want to give you your flowers. Really being great. I love you're a great follow. And anybody who's in this feed, please go follow him. You'll really learn a lot about the draft, NFL, and everything in general. I just really thank you, Mr. Hunt, for taking out your time in your day to jump on here with me.
Appreciate you for having me on. Always a pleasure, man. I will tell people, go and get the draft guide. Footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. It's the largest draft guide out there. Over 1,200 individual scouting reports. And the reason why that's important is because it helps you not only right now understand the draft class, you see my full-fledged thoughts on everybody, but also the undrafted free agents. It'll help you during preseason. And we know when guys are flying on and off the roster, and you're like, we picked up this guy. Who the hell is this guy? Pretty sure I got a write-up on him in this draft guide. So you can still get the preseason guide. Now it'll transition from a draft guide. So I say footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. Over 1,200 individual scouting reports, guys. And if those out there have supported my draft guide since 2020, when we put them out right now, you would have over 5,400 individual scouting reports. So you would have a book on the entire league. You would have a pretty, so if you reading what I'm putting down, is you would have a better chance of understanding who's going to win, who's going to lose, how many wins. You kind of like put a little shekels on the game or whatnot, which is why people was kind of thought I was crazy back in 2021 when I had the Eagles going to the playoffs with Jalen Hurts. And it was like, oh, there's no way. Like, this team will win over 9 games. Last year, I said the Eagles would win 14 games and Saquon would go over 2,000 yards.
Oh,
so the tweets out there, the videos out there, guys, like I be saying some dope stuff. You better go and get the draft guide is the foundation of my work, which is why I am so confident about these takes, because I put the work in and I'm at all the all-star games, and you'll see the full-fledged scouting report out there. So again, footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide.
I like what you said at the end. You said, I say some pretty dope stuff, y'all.
No, man, like don't sleep on me, man. I'm like, people may not know they've been following me a long time. Like they may not know it came from me, but it probably did. If it's something like this off the radar and it's like, oh, well, I heard that before. Like I said that. Yeah.
I love it. My dog, I love it. He said, if you heard it, it was probably me. I love it, man. But hey, I appreciate you. I'm gonna continue to check you out, and I'm gonna jump on that. I'm gonna get in your inbox so I can get that, because I'm a person that needs knowledge. I'm a knowledge person. I love to read, and I love. Well, before when the ESPN, before all this social media stuff came out, I used to get them Streets and Smiths, all them books. And I used to read every single player every time, and then I would go watch the tape, and I would go compare what they just said and look at the tape and be like, yeah, that's kind of right. So that's always been a basis for me, and what you're doing is awesome. So I appreciate you taking your time out, and we'll talk to you soon, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. We'll talk to you. Peace. All right. So, man, my guy, Emory Hunt, he's a beast in them streets, and I'm going to go get that football book because I need knowledge, and I need to know about these players, and I want to know everything about these players. And you got a Deuce Vaughn video coming up because he said it, and I want to know it. I want to know more about some Deuce Vaughn, and I'm going to check some things and see if he really does have an edge over here. So check out the next video. It's going to be Deuce Vaughn. But later on tonight, I got my dog B Tuck from Oh my God, trench warfare, QB killers, main guy that helped train Osa Ogadazua and all these Cowboys guys. He's been the man. Make sure you check out that interview. It's going to be tonight. We're going hard in the paint in the streets. Let's get it, baby.